welcome to another battle report. This one against my good friend Nat. He's on the Infernal Dwarves, I'm on the Orcs and Goblins. As always, I'm going to ask you to both like and subscribe if you've not done so already. And we're going to get up the army lists and pause if you want to take a closer look. And then we will get straight into deployment. Okay, here we are in deployment then. So we're on map number 9 and our deployment type is marching columns. That's the one where you deploy either left to right or right to left. And the secondary objective is to capture the flags. That's why the units are marked in red there. So to destroy more of your opponent's scoring units than they do of yours. So let's just go through the lists then. So we've got Nat's Titan Mortar and then a unit of Torok Anointed. A unit of Vassal Cavalry and then another unit of Torok Anointed, another Titan Mortar, Prophet on a Chariot, unit of Infernal Warriors, unit of Immortals with a Vizier, and another unit of Immortals. On my side, start on the right, Scrap Wagon, and then I've accidentally put my Boar Chariot here and my Wolf Chariot here, and I had said to Nat, this one is the Wolf Chariot and this one's the Boar Chariot, and then I realised later I'd got them the wrong way round, so Nat will later very graciously allow me to swap those, so thank you, Nat. So this should be a Wolf Chariot, and then a unit of Iron Orcs, this should be a Boar Chariot, unit of Ed Bashers with a Shaman, 2 Skewerers, unit of Iron Orcs with a Chief BSB, unit of Orc Boar Riders with an Orc Warlord, and 2 units of Raiders on Scuttler Spiders. I got to deploy first, and I deployed my whole army. Well, we sort of did A, B, A, B, A, B, and then I deployed my whole army as per the description of the deployment type. So I was going to be going first. So yeah, there you go. That's deployment. Let's get into vanguards. Okay, so just quick vanguards here then. Nat's decided not to vanguard with his Vassal Cavalry. He's trying to kind of keep them alive because they've died a lot in his recent games very quickly. But I'm running up the side here with my Raiders because I want to take advantage of the exposed slingshots here. I am very concerned about Nat's ability to make me flammable, and the slingshots are one of the ways that he can do that. So I'm seeing an opportunity here and running straight up the side to try and counter that threat. So that's vanguards. Okay, my movement 1 then. So I've vanguarded, so I can't charge the skewers, of course. So I've just sort of moved up into the ruins here so that the skewers are not benefiting from the cover of the ruins, and I'm just going to do a bit of throwing weapon action there. Although I've realised later on that I've made a mistake here. I've got out of the arc of vision of the Torok Anointed, but I've got myself so close to these skewers that I'm kind of in my own way for charging, which is a little bit annoying. Scrap Wagon went bonkers fast, and so has kind of got itself into a bit of jeopardy with a potential charge from this unit here. So I've just kind of wheeled the Iron Orcs there just as a counter charge. So if Nat charges here, he would be on the front, he'd overrun into the chariot, and then the Iron Orcs would come in on the flank, being the idea. And then there's sort of an advance through the middle with these units. A little bit cautious with this unit here because the Torok Anointed are scary and the Iron Orcs are not scared, but Orc Boars are not as good as Iron Orcs, so a little bit cautious there. That's the end of my movement 1. Okay, end of my turn 1 here then, and in the magic phase I've got Raven's Wing off on the Scrap Wagon, which is good. That's got it out of the charge arc of this unit here. And I've popped the aspect on the Immortals there because of course they've got the downhill charge, so they can re-roll it. So anything that kind of limits their movement is to the good. Couple of wounds on one of the slingshots over here from the Spider Riders. And that was that. I've also reflected at this point, a bit of a poor deployment with my Orc Boars here. I really needed to get up the extreme flank here, I'm not in a good position because this is a potential frontal charge later on. So yeah, a little bit of a mistake there. That's the end of my turn 1. Okay, Nat's movement 1 here then, and it's a very sort of unsubtle, not backing down kind of movement phase. It's straight ahead across the middle of the battlefield really, and then just bringing his light cavalry up here to sort of get ready to threaten the spider riders, I think. Yeah, there you go. That's Nat's movement 1. Okay, end of Nat's turn 1 here then. Fairly decent turn 1 for him. He's caused a couple of wounds on my Shaman chariot here with molten copper and has generated a panic test, which has then been failed, although the chariot's only fled 5 inches. He's generated a panic test in this raider unit with his slingshot, which has caused it to bolt. Although that's potentially a mistake because he's missed an opportunity to fire some flammable tokens at me, so there is that. And then in his shooting phase as well, this catapult has actually misfired and has broken down, so it's not shooting for the rest of the game, which I'm quite happy about. So that's the end of Nat's turn 1. Okay, into my turn 2 here, then my movement 2, and I've used my war cry, making all of my infantry units swift striders, and they've all managed to pull off a charge here. So this is a very sort of full frontal, typical orc, no nonsense sort of movement. Turn 2 really, it's going to be fairly brutal this. But still being a bit cautious with the orc boars here. I decided not to charge. I decided to back up a little bit. I'm hoping to cause Nat to fail a charge here. I think it's my least worst option. It's with backing up 3.5 inches, he's on about a 50-50 on this charge here, which is the best I could do really. Both of my fleeing units have also rallied as well, so there is that. Yeah, there you go. That's my movement 2. Okay, end of my turn 2 here then, and an absolute savagery has ensued. I got Break the Spirit off on one of the warrior units in my magic phase, but then the spider riders took out the slingshot and overran into the next slingshot over here. The iron orcs and the scrap wagon beat the warriors. The scrap wagon pursued and caught them, whereas the iron orcs reformed, ready to receive a charge from the immortals over here. The feral orcs with Break the Spirit off against the opposing unit smashed through the warriors, and the iron orcs also took out the anointed. Of course, the iron orcs, they've got the green tide banner and a chief in there, so there's about 20 strength 7 attacks, and no, it's a little bit less than that, 19 I think strength 7 attacks in there, so that's always going to hurt. So yeah, grr. Big, bulky, no-nonsense orcs doing what they do best. That's the end of my turn 2. Okay, on to Nat's movement 2 then. So Nat, quite understandably, I think, is perceiving himself to be on the back foot here because I've just taken out 3 of his scoring units. But anyway, he's coming out swinging, so he's got straight into the Iron Orcs with his Immortals and Vizier over here, and he has made this long charge at the Boar Riders with the Orc Warlord on this big unit of Anointed. So this will be quite an interesting one to see what's going on there. And then his general sort of moving into the middle, ready for a supporting position later on. And he's decided, I thought this was interesting, decided not to move his cavalry because if he moved them, is to hit returns on his shooting attacks would be no better as a consequence of the movement as opposed to the long range. Either way, he's at -1, so he's decided to stay where he is, which I think improves his angles for subsequent charges and so on later on. I think that's fairly clever. Yeah, there you go. That's the end of Nat's movement 2. Okay. On to the end of Nat's turn 2 here then. So he's had a good magic phase for start with. He got Corruption of Tin off on the Iron Orcs, And then he also got Word of Iron off on the Immortal, so his armor save is up. Mine is down. He's got flaming attacks, and I'm flammable. He did cast that with 4 dice, and I attempted to dispel it with 5, but failed. So anyway, yeah, the Immortals have then gone and done a real number on the Iron Orcs, beat and caught them. So just goes to show that Iron Orcs are beatable. Vassal Cavalry also did a really good job on the Spider Riders over here, shot them off, killed all 3 of them. Well done. But the slingshot here actually held. Nat rolled a double 1 for his break test, so fair play to them. And then down here, the Anointed and the Boar Riders actually drew combat. The Anointed inflicted 3 wounds and a charge. And my general did all the work down here. The Boars did nothing at all. My general inflicted 4 wounds, so that was a drawn combat. And that was the end of Nat's turn 2. Okay, on to my movement 3 here then. There have been no charges in my movement 3, partly because the Ed Bashers and the Iron Orcs had sort of smashed through through Nat's line in turn 1 and turn 2, and have basically reformed and are kind of coming back for a second pass, really. So both of these units reforming. Scrap Wagon is down to 1 wound, and I'm just kind of moving it up here, and I'm hoping to bring on a Totemic Beast and sort of have the Scrap Wagon zipping around until that happens, and then kind of go in on the subsequent turn with the Totemic Beast and hope that the impact hits plus the Totemic Beast can take out a Titan Mortar, maybe. Kind of being the idea there. Prepping for support with the Chariot here, if I can get the Ed Bashers into this unit, and then a flank charge with the Chariot being the idea there. And backing off with my Chariot here, which is down to 1 wound. I don't really fancy just throwing that away, even though it's not worth the Prophet's time. I don't want to invite the loss of my Shaman, so a little bit of a back off there. That's the end of my movement 3. Okay, end of my turn 3 here then, and I've got a Totemic Beast off in the magic phase, which I brought up on the left side, even though the Scrap Wagon's kind of waiting for some assistance, because this is an active Titan Mortar, whereas this one is not, so this one's the priority. And I've also got Raven's Wing off on the Ed Bashers. Now this I think is really important, because the Immortals are still facing this way, because they chased down the Iron Orcs before, so they're either going to be heading off, keeping their rear exposed to me and doing nothing, or they're going to turn around, and then I'm going to be able to charge them because I've already closed the gap with Raven's Wing. And I do think Raven's Wing is such a powerful spell, considering it can be put on a Wizard Apprentice. It's really quite useful. So the Totemic Beast has done 1 wound on the Titan Mortar. The Spider Riders have beaten the Slingshot at the 2nd attempt, and the combat down here, I've lost by 1 this time, but we've held on a discipline of 8, because of course my general is discipline 9 as standard. And that's the end of my turn 3. Okay, on to Nat's movement 3 here then. And there's just been the 1 charge with the Vassal Cavalry on the Spider Riders, but Nat has unfortunately taken 3 wounds to dangerous terrain there. Although, of course, charging through ruins with cavalry is a risky undertaking at the best of times. And then, yeah, coming a bit closer with his general here, but not getting too close. Doesn't want to get charged by either a chariot with the impact hits or the Ed Bashers. And that's the end of Nat's movement 3. Okay, end of Nat's turn 3 here then. And in the magic phase, he's got Word of Iron off on his Immortals. That's the big version as well. So they're on 2+ or even a 1+ armor save. Great big hulking armor save over here. And he's also got Corruption of 10 off on the Iron Orcs here. And then he's blasted them with a mortar and inflicted 5 wounds. So his mortar has done something useful. And that was his shooting and magic phase. In combat, the Warlord down here inflicted a maximum 5 wounds, so he's really up for it. Well done him. But Nat did hold nonetheless for the break test. And then the Vassal Cavalry, in spite of having taken 3 wounds, did actually beat the Spider Riders, who fled, but they were not caught. And then ironically, Nat took another wound from a dangerous terrain as he pursued me through the ruins. And that was the end of Nat's turn 3. Okay, on to my movement 4 here then, and all the action is on the right flank down here. So a charge with the Ed Bashers and a flank charge with the Goblin Chariot. Of course, this unit had reformed in Nat's previous turn, not wanting to head this way with his exposed rear, because that's asking for trouble. It's only delaying the inevitable. So turn around, ready to take them on. So double charge there. The Totemic Beast is also random moved into combat, but I've not had the Scrap Wagon random move into combat because it's still alone. I'm wondering if this beast will beat this unit and then can perhaps head this way and team up with him a bit later on maybe. Iron Orcs heading this way because although my Warlord has done a good job so far, it's very sort of on a knife edge which way this will go, so I want to be able to finish this unit off if my Warlord has a turn where he doesn't perform. And my Spider Rider is not rallied and is just teetering on the board edge there. Yeah, there you go. That's the end of my movement 4. Okay, end of my turn 4 here then. So I had a very successful magic phase. I managed to bring the pain off, so I'm re-rolling hits against the Immortals. And then I also got Awaken the Beast off, giving myself +1 strength, which was very fortunate because I put 3 dice into that and Nat put 5 dice into the Dispel attempt. And I got my spell through. So that was quite unlucky for Nat, really. In the combat phase, the Titan Mortar held here against the Totemic Beast, who did very little. A drawn combat down here between the Boar Riders and the Anointed, and then the Ed Bashers won here in the middle. But of course, the Vizier with the Immortals means that there is a bodyguard stubborn rule happening over here, so they lost but held. And that was the end of my turn 4. Okay, now I forgot to take the photograph from Nat's movement 4. Apologies there, everyone. But what happened was, anyway, that the Vassal Cavalry here charged off the Spider Rider, who of course was already fleeing, so he had to flee. And then he's also gone in with his Prophet on the flank of the Ed Bashers over here. So then in Nat's turn, he got Corruption of Tin off on the Iron Orcs here. And then the Orc Warlord actually dropped the final Anointed. So there's only one model left in my Orc Boar unit here. That's the Champion. But yeah, the Orc Warlord has done a good number there. And then the Beast beat the Titan Mortar over here, and it was a drawn combat, an absolute bloodbath over here. So yeah, and then the Ed Bashers have reformed because I want to face the Prophet. So that was the end of Nat's movement and turn 4. Okay, on to my movement 5 then, and you can see these units here are sort of hounding Nat's fast cavalry over here. This is mostly because with the distance in the middle here, then they're not going to be able to come and interfere with what's going on here by the end of turn 6. So I might as well try and make it a little bit difficult for him. And then the Boar Chariot moving up here, ready to come in and do some impact hits. In my turn 6 being the idea there, possibly. That's the end of my movement 5. Okay, end of my turn 5 here then. I got Awaken the Beast off on the Ed Bashers and then being steadfast as well, so I'm at +2 strength and +2 armor penetration over here, and that enabled me to finish off the Prophet, actually. The Vizier broke from combat but was not caught, but at least my chariot who pursued didn't take any damage from running into the forest. There is that. Yeah. That was the end of my turn 5. Okay, Nat's movement 5 here then, and his Vizier has rallied, and his fast cavalry have kind of slipped through the gap here and have evaded the ambush. There was no magic, his wizard is dead, there is no shooting, there is no combat, so that's the end of Nat's turn 5. And into my movement 6 here then, so I've thought, you know what, screw it, in we go with a scrap wagon, let's see if we can do some damage on the impact hits here. And I've tried to chase the cavalry down here with my random movement totemic beast, but not quite made it. But I have at least charged into the vizier down here with about half of my Ed Bashers remain, so I'm going to try and slaughter him in the forest. That's the end of my movement 6. Okay, so end of my turn 6 here then, and I've got Rod of Battle and Bring the Pain Off on this poor vizier in the magic phase, and obviously then finished him off later on. The scrap wagon died. That was 80 points given away, but never mind. The skewerers continued to mess with their shooting as well. I tried to finish off this cavalry here with the skewers, but they've missed 11 out of 12 shots during the course of the game. So yeah, that was that. That's the end of my 6. And end of Nat's turn 6 here. He's basically ran off with his fast cavalry just for a bit of an authentic look. So that was the end of the game. Nat inflicted 1,109 points of damage on me. I inflicted 4,475 on him, so that's a 17-3. And then I've also killed more of his scoring units than he has of mine, so it actually became a 20-0 at the end. As you know, I like to kind of reflect, what did I do well, what did I do not so well. I think I made a few mistakes early on with the spider riders, for example, getting them in the way of one another. I gave the scrap wagon away at the end there as well, but I think overall, I mean, if you win 20-0, you can't be too unhappy with your play, can you? I suppose. I think if anything, it wasn't so much the quality of my play, which I think was decent. I think Nat could have done some things differently. For example, if he'd have targeted my general with his anointed, who's almost as easy to wound as a regular boar rider, he could have killed off my general. That would have earned him a good, 500 points more and prevented any damage output down my left flank, and that would have considerably changed that number. Not necessarily enough for a 10-10, but would have created a significant change. But I think the real kind of moment in the game was right at the start of my turn 2 with the war cry and just three infantry units just pouncing on you. This orc army, it's just savage. It's so much fun to play. Maybe not so much fun to play against, but it's so much fun to play. Yeah, I mean, once the orcs are punching holes through your lines, then you're on the back foot no matter what. And Nat did a good job of coming out swinging, but yeah, it was always going to be hard for him. I think as well, I managed to negate the flammable and flaming combo quite well in this game, and that I think played to my favour. I think if Nat were going to play this game again, he'd probably be looking to get more flammable tokens dropped on me, so that he's re-rolling to wound, which is a massive feature of Infernal Dwarves. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. That was the end of the game. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for staying all the way to the end, and I will see you next time.